This might be a rough one. I have dizzy head.
Why do you have dizzy head?
I think it's the air.
Don't use the air as an excuse.
Dude, it's bad outside.
Do you think I'm using excuses as a company leader right now?
I still don't like this idea.
Do you want to use a sick day?
Do I have sick days?
I'll give you a couple if you want.
Oh, thanks. No, but it's bad outside. Canada, what the hell?
It literally looks like the sky from 28 Days Later. You ever seen that movie?
It looks like Blade Runner.
Yeah,
it's bad
that too.
I also, this is still weird for me because, obviously, Bo stepped down and he took over as host. But I kind of like when you did the voice last time. Can you do that again? That made me feel more comfortable.
Can you say "Ooh, Daddy"? I want you to do that voice and then bite your lip.
I will go to HR.
Oh God! Please don't fire me already.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I am Anthony J.Q. Nash doing a Bo Oliver impression, and I am joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, but I'm also going to be doing my Nash voice.
Yeah, but I'm working on it, you know?
I don't like this.
It's funny because once I took over, I just didn't even know what to do at this point, you know? But whatever. I guess, Aaron, if you'd like to be here for the 2 days that you're left in this company, just let me know.
Now I'm getting fired? This is ridiculous.
Well, we're under new management. And you can follow us on social medias at NerdSoup, at BoSoup, at Anthony JQ Nash, at NerdSoup Monkey. Well, don't follow at BoSoup because he's no longer here. Well, if you want to catch up with him during his retirement, that's fun. And like the title says, we will be reviewing the new Spider-Verse movie, Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. A lot of people actually didn't know that it was a Part 1.
My theater was they were in shambles.
Yeah, people were pissed at that to be continued.
Great movie, though.
How come nobody invited me to watch? I mean,
you didn't see the first one. You don't really like Spider-Man. Which also two big strikes of why you shouldn't.
I need a third.
Wait, you've seen the first one and you didn't like it?
No.
He didn't see the first one. He doesn't like Spider-Man.
Damn,
Doesn't care about
put
Spider-Man.
That on his name.
I just kind of want to.
You got to be the only person in New York who doesn't fuck with Spider-Man. You're like J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he really is.
No way. There's got to be other people.
Bring me pictures of Spider-Man.
His ops list is J. Jonah Jameson, Venom, and fucking Nash. Yeah.
Those are Spider-Man's 3 biggest haters.
Or Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3. Went to church to wish death on this man.
And then we will be answering some of your fan questions. So we're going to do the Across the Spider-Verse review.
Yeah, I mean, usually when they talked about AI and all the the negative effects, I didn't know it would go this far.
Somebody should have warned you, bitch.
Yeah. Can you do something about the air quality? Do you have a filter?
I'm going to roll it into a blunt and smoke it all, you know?
Yeah, being Bo now, I also have that lung capacity.
Yeah.
From all the blunts that he used to smoke.
It said it's worse. It's 24 hours and it is 6 cigarettes, which is
Honestly, guys,
moose.
Do you think the government planted a fire into Canada? Not our own country, but to bring the country together, to hate Canada, but to bring us together and, fight.
See, I can also do a Teddy impression.
Yeah, that was this. Yeah.
Why do you think there's fucking fires? Fires in fucking Canada, bro? Fuck them. I play football better than them.
Yeah, no, that's
better than your bow. Yeah, it's better than your bow.
Yeah, it's really solid.
I mean,
all right, let's throw it over to. This was actually pre-recorded before Bo stepped down, so we'll throw it over to Bo and Aaron for their Across the Spider-Verse review, and I'm sure that's going to be good. Hope you guys enjoy it. Well, shout out to Bubba Sparks, shout out to Chopin. Maybe one day they will collab.
They would have loved each other.
But let's get into the review. Across the Spider-Verse. This is a movie that was pushed back. It was supposed to come out in 2022, but they pushed it back because of COVID. It feels like one of the last victims of all the COVID delays. But it is here, and it's been getting critical acclaim, box office success. It looks like it's going to make more than the first one did, and we always thought that the first one should have made more. But feels like this is a movie a lot of people discovered after it was out on Blu-ray and streaming and stuff like that. So
how much has it made already?
So far it's up to, well, I'm not entirely sure, but if I had to guess at this point 2 weeks later, educated guess, I'm going to say somewhere in the 250s.
Yeah.
So it's looking like it's going to flip a decent profit at the very least. We will see how how it tops out. But that was great to see that more people, well, I'm just projecting. I'm looking into the future.
Yeah.
I think more people are going to, just based on the projections that our people have done here at the Nerd Soup Studio, and we're good with that. We're good with numbers. We're good with finance. It's going to be bigger than the first one.
Yeah.
I'm confident in saying that. Just getting a chance to watch it early, man, I thought that this was a great movie, a visual masterpiece. I'm always banging the table, banging the drum that film is a visual medium. The visuals come first, and this movie took that to heart, and you see why it took them so long to animate, because it's super ambitious, pretty much unprecedented when you look at animated movies. I mean, there have been some really well animated films. I mean, some of the Miyazaki movies to me are some of the best animated projects of all time, and even movies that we've seen over the years. But the key word here is ambitious, because there's so many different art styles that they're playing with, and it all does such a great job of setting the mood for certain scenes where, you know, maybe the narrative isn't really reinventing the wheel when it comes to these types of stories, but those moments hit so hard, I think, because of the visuals and because of how the movie focuses on the thematic themes that work best for Spider-Man. You know, from the big picture and also the smaller picture. I thought that the moments between Miles and his family were just as good as they were in the first movie, and those are the movies that hit me the hardest. But like I said, just the scope of this film was breathtaking. It really was awe-inspiring, and like I said, unprecedented when you look at animated movies. When people say you've never seen anything like this before, it's kind of true with this movie.
No, it is. And I think a lot of people said that about the first one, the unique kind of animation style to make it feel like it was ripped off a comic. I think they did this. I think they took that and kind of went wild with it here in the best possible way. Like you said, it's really hard to compare because there are some beautiful animations out there. But artistically, I think this is the most impressive thing I've seen on screen when it comes to maybe not only animation, maybe anything, because of, like you said, just the different styles they were able to really perfect throughout the movie. And I mean, the action sequences just looked beautiful. I mean, I think one of them took 4 years to make, and it really tells. The attention to detail. There were some sequences in, you know, some of the different worlds that subtle changes, like, kind of just differentiated it from what you've seen before, but it was still so fresh and something new, and you could tell and pick up on the cues visually to help tell the story. There are moments where get Gwen Stacy where it was literally a painting. And it kind of blended between motion picture and actual art, and well, they're one and the same, but like a still image. And you know, some of those backdrops you can put up in the MoMA, and you wouldn't bat an eye.
Yeah, and Paper Mache Vulture would have been upset about that. This is art?
Yeah.
That was really funny.
No,
it felt like taking a tour through an art gallery, like you were seeing an exhibit.
Yeah, and I think the Gwen was just like, during that moment, I was like, what? This is fucking incredible. Like with the pastels and the water paintings, it looked like it was just truly visually, you know, a masterpiece, I think.
Yeah, no, just the emotional impressions that those sequences were able to make on you when she embraces her father for a hug. It's such a small moment, but maybe I'm just a crybaby, but I teared up. Yeah. And it is because of that expression of love, the way that the colors just basically come out of them and take up the room. There were
different vibrance with the settings and tones and reflected what was happening on screen. Creativity there was just something I've never... There's been plenty of creative animation in the past, I'm not saying that, but just kind of just took it to a new level, I feel like, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely, because it's sort of, you're not expecting it when you're coming into this movie. You expect to be blown away by the animation quality that they established in the first one, but to be this ambitious and to take the approach of different universes are going to have different art styles, it's so much fun, and you totally get lost in it. You're not thinking in the back of your mind, why is Hoagie's art style always changing? You're just impressed by how many different iterations that they were able to create in those sequences, and how, like I said, it doesn't take you out of it whatsoever. And that's why animation to me is the best way to tell these types of stories, because you could do so much when it comes to the visuals, and you can just, like you said, those moments, those emotional moments are just heightened because of the art styles.
It's also easy to be lazy with animation. I'm sure you know too, like animating these videos, like how easy is it sometimes to just be like, maybe I don't have to have the character move its arm because that's going to take me X amount of time, and it really doesn't add much, but it really does when you think about it. It kind of makes it more realistic, and it emotes more and gives these characters more life to them.
Oh yeah, that's why Akira is always considered one of the best animated movies of all time, because they took that extra effort to make sure those little details, instead of animating every 3 frames, is we're going to do it every 2. And it costs money, it costs time. That's why this movie came out 5 years after the first one. And that's why I also don't think the next one's coming out by next year, because unless it's significantly shorter, this is the longest American-made animated film ever. So like I said, unless it's significantly shorter or they've already done most of it, but just based on what some of the actors are saying and the directors, I don't think they're going to hit that release date. But it really just comes down to commitment. Are you committed to making something that people have never seen before? If you commit the time and the money and the resources, this could be the end product. So I'm just so thankful that Sony, they've had their ups and downs, not only with the Spider-Man movies, but with their movies in general. We're willing to give them this freedom, this creative freedom to create something like this, because it's something few and far between in modern Hollywood. We've noticed a decline in the quality of CGI and the production standards for a lot of these films that warrant ambitious creativity has gone down because of the crunch and the rush and the greediness of these studios. So they took an old school approach with it, man, and created something, as we keep saying, that we've really never seen before.
And especially with an IP like Spider-Man, with built-in audience and name recognition, you could easily look at this project and be like, let's just make a regular Spider-Man movie, right? Like, we don't need to put all this effort in, creativity, spend all this money, because it's going to sell no matter what. If it was an original story or for original characters, maybe you do that just to get some buzz around it. But like with a name like Spider-Man, I think it would be very easy just to be like, just create a basic animated story, we don't really have to do too much because we're already going to sell from a business standpoint. But the fact that they were willing to do this with the project like this, with a name like Spider-Man, I think just makes it even better, because it's introducing kind of this style and what animation could be to an audience who probably wouldn't have seeked it out to begin with if it wasn't Spider-Man attached to it.
Yeah, that is a good point, because you're seeing all the different ways that they could have told stories about different Spider-Man and different animation styles. When you see Indian Spider-Man, and that world is so well put together, and just the creativity. I'm sure this is something that comes from the comics, but combining Mumbai and Manhattan into one city, and he even says it, that it's the best city to be Spider-Man in because there's so many different places to swing. And as we mentioned with Spider-Punk, his animation style always changing. I think for most people, Gwen's world was the favorite, because there's just so much you could do in terms of establishing emotion between characters just through the visuals. And also the idea of Spider-Man's story, there's been so many different Spider-Men in the comics, so it kind of works perfectly when you're tackling the multiverse, because there's so many different references and Easter eggs, and there were a lot of them. And I think, I loved the experience, but a couple of times, not eye-rolling, but I wasn't as impressed as the rest of the crowd with these Easter eggs, because so many movies have been doing it now, especially superhero movies. And it's like, yeah, I know Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey's Spider-Man. It says spoilers on the title. The Donald Glover one kind of caught me. I was like, what the fuck?
That was cool. Do they see humans as cartoons? Does a cartoon see a human and be like, that's animation?
See, those are questions that you can't ask. I'd like to think no, because in the first Spider-Verse, I think it's Scorpion says to Porky, what are you supposed to be, some sort of cartoon? So maybe he's a cartoon and everyone else is just a different type of reality.
Because when they're watching Community, it's animated, I think.
Okay.
And Community obviously is a live action show for us.
I'm sure CinemaSins is going to address that if you...
Then do they have cartoons?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't have Comic-Con.
No. He never got to be stuck in a crowded convention center.
Yeah, it reeks like popcorn and sweat. I'm sure he would have loved that.
Yeah.
That broke my heart when Gwen took the toy out of the package. I can't stand when people do that in movies. I know it's not real, but she should know better.
Yeah, that's kind of a dick move.
But I like the way that they also framed it as Gwen's story, opening up with what she's been doing since the first movie and how it's been tough for her to move on. And that's what's so interesting with the way they tackle the idea of being Spider-Man, that it's a very lonely job and that it requires sacrifice, but they get to all come together and share in those experiences. But them being separated, like I said, it's weighing on both of them because they're able to relate so much to each other, but the rules of the multiverse keep them apart. And that's, it speaks to the stories of Spider-Man that we've been, experiencing over the decades, that it's a lonely life. And this movie takes the approach of maybe it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Maybe there is a way that you can, have your cake and eat it too. As Miles says, you bake 2 cakes. So I really enjoyed that because it's framing the Spider-Man in so many different ways. It also did a good job of speaking to Miles Morales' real life experiences if this were to happen to an Afro-Latino kid growing up in Brooklyn, right? This idea that you go into these places with all these fancy people and their fancy toys and, you don't want to be told that you don't belong there. You want to establish that, yeah, I could do this just as good as you guys. Just because I'm not Peter Parker, I can still be Spider-Man. And not only that, I could take it a step further. I'm going to leave the past behind and carve out my own story. So emotionally, it's you have Miguel O'Hara as the villain in this movie, and the final line of Into the Spider-Verse where Miles really embraces being the one and only Spider-Man, and Miguel O'Hara saying, no, you're an anomaly. You weren't ever supposed to be Spider-Man. So they're kind of thematically clashing with each other, and that's a battle that I really enjoyed watching play out.
He violated him.
He did.
He was really mean to Miles. It's like, I didn't ask for any of this. Maybe be better at fucking controlling your spiders than in other universes, bitch. That's what I would have said.
Yeah, thank God. Well, the studios are going to hire you during the strike.
Yeah.
This guy's got ideas.
Yeah, I think like story-wise, it's definitely a movie like I'm itching to see again just to pick up on things that I missed. And it did seem at times it did move a little quickly, whether it would be the dialogue, but that's kind of like the humor that, Lord and Miller are kind of, that's kind of their style. So I didn't really mind that too much. It's definitely a big story. I feel like it's definitely a lot to not keep up with, but I feel like so much is happening at once at times where comparatively to the first one, I think it was just a tighter story, but I still like, I've been like racking my mind since I saw it, like where do I stack it up? Because I do think the first one is like a perfect movie, and this one I might have enjoyed a little better at times. And I think artistically and visually, I think it's superior to the first. All the characters, getting to know all these different Spider-Men, seeing, like you said, Spider-Punk and Spider-Man India, Miguel O'Hara. It was just fun and interesting, and I wanted to spend more time. I wanted to learn more about these characters and see how they interacted with each other. Very akin to the first one, seeing all these crazy other spider people coming into Miles's world and just seeing where they came from and what Spider-Man means to them and how they act, what it means to be Spider-Man in their world and how that can relate to Miles and how he can learn from that and kind of come into his own. And I think a lot of that carried over into this one in a much grander scale.
Yeah, and I thought Miguel O'Hara, I don't think he was a better villain than Thanos in Infinity War, but I felt like they shared a lot of, like the shades of those characters were very similar, and they've experienced something so devastating and traumatic, they don't want it to happen again. So even though he maybe could have been a bit softer with his delivery with Miles, you understand that anxiousness that he feels, and that definitely he's got a lot of anger to his character, but it also felt like angst. So I thought he was a great villain to frame that argument that, yeah, being Spider-Man means that you have to sacrifice so that the rest of the world could be safe. And this takes it to a whole nother level. If you make the wrong canon, if you disrupt a canon event, then everything could be destroyed. So him experiencing that and not wanting that to happen again, but then you can argue, yeah, he is going a little bit too far, and maybe he doesn't know it for certain. So that's why it was similar to Thanos. He thinks that he has to do this in order to save the world, but maybe there could be an alternative, and that's where Miles comes in. So I thought, even though he doesn't have a lot of scenes in this movie, he definitely leaves a lasting impression, because he thought that he was simply doing something that would be harmless, stepping into the shoes of an alternate version of himself, and that world gets destroyed. So I thought Oscar Isaac's voiceover performance was terrific. There was a lot of pain in the way that he was delivering those lines, and the animation of that character really fit just the overall voice acting performance. The facial expressions, the bags under his eyes. That's a tired man who really probably just needed a nap. So I thought, in terms of standing, the voiceover performances throughout the whole cast were just, it's so hard to pick a favorite, because who's the dude that Karan Soni, the cab driver from Deadpool, voices Indian Spider-Man. And once again, he's in maybe 5-10 minutes of the film, but he's got some of the funniest lines, some of the best deliveries, playing with the tension between Gwen and Miles, him getting upset about people saying chai tea. When Spot said, I love chai tea, he's like, no! So he was funny. And of course, Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk. It seems for a lot of people, he stole the show. He's got some of the, if you can understand him, he's got some of the funniest lines in the movie.
Yeah, they do. That's why I want to see it again, because sometimes it does happen quick.
It's a metaphor for capitalism.
Yeah, I think that's what these movies do well, is just kind of the conversations between characters are so fluid and natural that like you can miss it if you're not really like paying attention to every word. It's just, it happens in real time, and it doesn't like it doesn't really go at the pace of the audience. It goes at its own pace. And I think, that could definitely benefit if you really integrate that into your style, and kind of it just comes off just more clean, more fluid, and it keeps it really, the pacing, it really keeps it moving along. Because at the end of the movie, and a lot of people were surprised in my theater that it was a part 1 with the to be continued. At that moment,
yeah, people were fucking jeering, dude.
What are we, like 2 hours and 10 minutes in, and they're getting ready, everyone's coming together and have this, I'm getting pumped in my seat. I'm like, oh, let's fucking go. And like, I was fully expecting to see the conclusion. Because like, I'm like, this movie has only been playing for an hour and a half. Like, I didn't realize that I've been in this theater for 2 hours already. It ended, and I'm like, wait, it's been 2 hours already? That's insane.
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't feel its length whatsoever, dude. It fucking rips.
Like, I was fully expecting to see a conclusion, because sometimes like, with Dune, like, you're in there for fucking 2.5 hours.
Yeah, you can
sense. And they're building up, you're like, okay, like, this is going to end, and we're not going to see what they're kind of building here. In this movie, I'm like, yeah, we still have a half hour to go.
That's why it is a little weird, and I'm not going to go to bat about whether it was the right choice or the wrong choice, because just seeing some of the debates online, I'm like, I don't care that much. I enjoyed my time. But it did feel like we only had 15, 20 minutes left, and then they just sort of pulled the plug. So it's going to be interesting to see how long part 2 is, I guess you still have to resolve the stuff with Spot. He is, I guess, the main villain. Miguel O'Hara is like a sub-villain. But Spot's more old school. I'm just going to destroy everything you love because you turned me into a monster, so fuck you. I thought it was so funny, dude, when Spot's telling Miles, I created you, and then you created me. And then Miles' dad goes, Spider-Man, why'd you create that
guy? There were so many funny little bits like that. His dad is he's so good. He's so fucking funny.
Yeah, voiced by Brian Tyree Henry. And people are always surprised to see that he does the voice, but I think he does a good job losing himself in that character.
He has incredible range.
He does, dude.
In live action, or the voice over, like, he can do so many different things.
Yeah, and in this one, he's just such a good guy, and you really feel for him when he's opening up to Spider-Man, doesn't know that it is Miles. So those moments hit the hardest in the first movie between Miles and his parents, and I think so here, especially the moment with Rio giving him that pep talk. And that's a moment in the trailer that always got me to tear up, because it is confronting this idea that there can't be a Latino Spider-Man, there can't be an African-American Spider-Man. I remember when this character was really becoming popular and people in comic book shops would make those remarks, and my response would be, yeah, it's so crazy, an Afro-Latino from Brooklyn. You never see people of Afro or Latino descent in Brooklyn.
Donald Glover has a good bit in one of his old stand-up specials about Black Spider-Man.
He was the inspiration for Miles.
That's why I kind of liked seeing him in this role, like in the movie, that little cameo, because like they paid homage to him from the Community bit.
It's super meta, right? Because he was the Prowler in the MCU, or he would become the Prowler.
And obviously,
he was also the inspiration.
Yeah.
He's also Miles' uncle, so Miles is like looking at him weird. So it's so many different things that you can draw from it. That's why I really like that cameo. But I'm glad they took that approach of addressing the backlash, of saying, no, Miles is Spider-Man. And that was the whole point of the movie. Not only am I Spider-Man and you're going to have to deal with it, but I said in the beginning that they didn't really reinvent the way that the Spider-Man story was told, but in a way they did, saying I don't have to go through all these personal tragedies to justify being a hero. I could just be a good person who has these powers and uses them for good. And I guess he sort of did have that moment with Uncle Aaron, which really, because I just rewatched the first one and that line really hits hard, that you're the best of us, keep going. Really simple, but it really sticks with you that's why he continues to do this. And I think the best line of this was when he looks Miguel O'Hara in the face and says, no, I'm going to do my own thing. Let's change this around. The twist ending kind of flips it on its head, because Miles took these spider powers from a different universe. That world doesn't have a Spider-Man, so it's the consequences of him becoming Spider-Man, and maybe that Miles not. Or that Peter Parker not becoming Spider-Man.
I was so proud of myself, because when he gets scanned, when he's in the Spider-Man headquarters and they're scanning to go back, and the computer says Earth 5042, I'm like, oh fuck, he's going to the wrong universe. And everybody else was shook. I was like, nah, I knew that.
Can you prove that?
No.
Yeah, that sucks. It sucks that you can't prove it.
Well, I can prove it by saying, because I only saw it once, and I remember, and the movie's not online, no clips are out, that the computer said Earth 42.
Well, you're like Miles, that he could turn invisible when nobody's looking.
I did. I almost ruined this little girl's movie experience because I'm walking into the aisle to get my seat. I'm not saying it's her fault, but I mean, movie protocol when someone's going in, walking past you in the aisle, you get your snacks, you move them, and let them go. And it's dark because the preview's already playing, and I'm just walking in the aisle and I kicked over her popcorn.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Did they go back and get another one?
Because I had a full popcorn.
So
I was like, do you want my popcorn? I'm sorry. She was like, no, it's okay. But she still had like half her popcorn left. And then we dumped my popcorn to make her full popcorn again.
Okay, that was nice of you.
Yeah.
That was your Spider-Man moment.
Yeah. I was fucking pissed though because I had half the popcorn.
But what did you think about that ending just in terms of it being a cliffhanger and, like I said, how it sort of flips the story on its head?
I definitely was amped. I don't really mind the to be continued. It really depends on what happens in the second one. If it's an elongated, like you said, you feel like this could have got wrapped up in a half hour. If it's an elongated, they take a story and make it longer just so they have a full feature, then maybe you can start having problems with it. But if you realize that, hey, no, we needed 2 hours to tell the rest of the story, then I think, what else are you supposed to do at that point?
Right, yeah, and I think the way that they play with the idea of the multiverse there at the end when you become your own worst enemy, it's an idea that it's been played with, but not in the context of there actually being another you. So you have to go head to head with this person who is existing in a world without Spider-Man. Who knows if that Miles Morales was supposed to become Spider-Man? So I found it fascinating that the point that Miguel kept making is that when you're chosen for this, it comes with personal tragedy. But what happens if you aren't chosen? Is that worse? Mm-hmm. Because he becomes the new Prowler. He's a supervillain. He's going down this wrong path. And not only that, his surrounding world seems a bit more dim.
He's
like there's less hope. Yeah, it looks like Gotham. So they keep talking about the burden of being Spider-Man. What about the burden of never becoming Spider-Man? Right. So I think that's interesting how it could be seen as a burden for somebody from one walk of life. But for Miles, in many ways, this has been the best thing that's ever happened to him. Yeah, he lost his uncle, but he didn't have any friends. Now he does. So his family has gotten bigger, and he feels more confident in his role. Even the experiences of this movie, going out on his own, saying that he beat back all those Spider-Men, and now he's not scared of anything. So for the most part, it's been good for Miles. And I think that's interesting, right? What can be a burden for one person is seen as an opportunity for another. I remember my dad always used to say, growing up, if I thought...
With great power comes great responsibility.
No, he never dropped bars like that. But he was like, if you could take my childhood self and bring him to where I am now, just going from poor to middle class, I would be astounded by this. Yeah. But other people look at a middle class lifestyle and say that's being poor. So it does come down to perspectives. I thought it was such a funny scene when the woman was trying to frame his story, growing up in this immigrant family, and the mom's like, no, Puerto Rico's part of the U.S. and the struggling family, and he's like, well, we own a flat in Brooklyn. I'm struggling. Huh? That was really funny, dude. But like I said, there's so much going on in this from a visual standpoint, and it's all great and really expanding the possibilities of superhero stories. But the heart of the movie is that family dynamic between Miles, Rio, and Jefferson Davis. I like how they changed his last name because he decided to take Rio's name. But like I said, those moments, even though we've seen this play out before between Peter and his family and how it creates this wedge, but I think the way that it resolved thematically, well, I guess it hasn't fully resolved yet, but the conclusions that the parents come to that, Miles has to grow up and so do we. Mm-hmm. So they come to this understanding without even knowing that Miles is Spider-Man. So it speaks to the trust that unit has together. And the performances are always so great between the three of them.
Yeah. Speaking of canon events, are you trading dead uncle for Spider-Man abilities?
What happens if my uncle's already dead?
I don't think that works.
I don't think I could ever become Spider-Man.
Yeah. I think I'd make that deal.
Oh my God.
To be Spider-Man, right?
That's fucking morbid. That's terrible. Your poor uncle. He listens too. He's a big fan.
Yeah. I think he would appreciate it. If I ever had I do have nephews.
I think that was.
I was gonna say if I had nephews, I would sacrifice myself for them to be Spider-Man.
Oh my God. Yeah, I do have nephews too. My nephew once made that joke. He was like, if I ever became Spider-Man, that means you would die. I'm like, you better not fucking become Spider-Man. I don't give a shit how cool you are. And, you saw it with Gwen, too, that her dad was supposed to die, but he quits. so he's no longer a captain. So you wonder if
Feel
that
bad
breaks.
for the next guy who gets that, the next guy in line.
There's a lot of things that you could play with when it comes to that. But I think for, their dynamic, it really hit home. And it was, very similar to Miles, and we talked about the similarities between those two characters. But Haley Steinfeld was great in the first movie, and even better here when she does deliver that monologue about, having to live this dual life. It definitely hits home. And I think it captures, the duality of being Spider-Man, but you can apply many different stories to that type of speech. People who have felt like they had to hide a half of themselves from their family, from their friends, in order to just to feel safe and feel comfortable. But it's a lonely lifestyle. And we saw that in the beginning with her montage that, she's walking around the city all alone. She doesn't fit in with the band. So it really is these lonely people just looking for acceptance while also trying to be the best Spider people they could be. So I thought, the idea of making them dual protagonists, it really worked. It didn't take away from Miles' story whatsoever.
Yeah. Also enjoy, obviously not a new character, but Peter B. Parker always gets me. Endangering that baby, though.
Yeah, not great parenting.
But like how he's able to be a mentor to Miles. It's like an idiotic take that like dumbing Peter down and making him like just not on the par of what Peter should be. And I'm like, well, that's not true at all. Because we see his progress from the last movie where he's kind of, came into this role and now he's able to be a father and teach Miles, and Miles teaches him, and they kind of grow together. And I think their relationship is, one of the, obviously Gwen and Miles are more of the front and center here, but I think Peter B. Parker and what he's meant for the story and meant for Miles, and kind of how they all work together and kind of all their themes kind of relate to each other. And I guess that's what the point, right, is like, and with the canon events that at some point all these Spider people have dealt with the same thing in adversity. Different ways, different variables, but I guess these kind of canon events bond them in a way that you really can't with anybody else.
Yeah, as much as I do love Peter B. Parker, I think Jake Johnson was great casting. It did feel like a character that wasn't needed in the story. Even that moment that he has with Miles when he's saying, "You're the reason that I felt like I could be a father." I guess that's a cool moment, and they do have the history, so it was nice to see them sharing scenes, but the relationship between them in the first movie was just so great. Mm-hmm. And I felt like he was just there because people really liked him in the first one. And yeah, I don't understand the criticisms of him being this incompetent, washed up Spider-Man. He's growing. But that's the whole point of being Spider-Man, is that it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
Do people not watch the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies? He's apathetic at times, but
pretty damn pathetic.
No, he is. But that's what makes the character relatable.
Yeah.
That when he's under the suit, he can kick ass. And I did enjoy the animation with the baby, that she was swinging everywhere, and him being obsessed with showing photos even though the baby was right there. I thought she was cute. She was funny. But it did feel like he could have been one of the like the Spider-Man at the end that we recognized from the first movie. He could have showed up at the end, and I would have been totally satisfied with that. It really was about Miles and Gwen when it comes down to it. But he's a fan favorite, and like I said, Jake Johnson was such a brilliant casting. The great voiceover performance. I had no idea that it was Chris Pine who voiced blonde Spider-Man in the first one. He was really good.
I feel like that Spider-Man's out of place, if anything.
Oh, yeah, he's got all the gadgets, and he was made to be the most competent Spider-Man ever, right?
He was more, I don't know, Superman. It's like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, Batman, basically.
When I think of Spider-Man, I think relatable, flawed, but
trying his best.
But yeah, but he's
I think that's why Miles has become my favorite Spider-Man, because he's not overly quippy, overly quirky. He balances all the best personality traits of Spider-Man, and it just feels like a more realistic version of this character because of his roots, because of his background, and what he has to deal with beyond being Spider-Man. It just makes him that much more interesting than these other iterations. So when they call him an anomaly, and they're trying to say that's why you don't belong, it can also be seen as a good thing. You're different from all of us because you're better, because you're a bit more interesting and a bit more compelling, that you could take this character to different dimensions, but, I'm not trying to be funny here. But no, quite literally, that there's so many different paths that his character can open up for Spider-Man. And that's why it's unfortunate that these movies are so hard to make and so taxing, because it doesn't seem like we're ever going to get this Miles in his own Spider-Man story without all the other stuff. You know, just him being Spider-Man. I would love a movie of him and his dad working together, because that sequence when they're both trying to fight Spot, I thought it was hilarious. You know, the action is really well choreographed, but just seeing the way that, you know, Jefferson was trying to help out when he's contemplating jumping through the hole and then he takes the stairs. Nice little callback to the first movie. I could do a whole movie of that, of them trying to grapple with their roles as, you know, protectors of this city. One a vigilante, one obviously on the force. I thought that could make a really compelling story. And then you add in the fact that they're father and son. So there's a lot of layers that you could tackle there. I don't think we're ever going to get that, but for the most part, they do honor Miles' journey as Spider-Man with all the commotion and all the world-ending stakes of it all. It comes down to Miles, and to me, that's brilliant. And Shameik Moore, it looks like he wants to play the character in live action. I don't know if he's going to get that chance, but he's been really solid providing the voice for this character. Yeah, where he does still have that youthfulness, that curiosity of somebody who's still trying to figure it all out, and a good soul, but also just really cool. I think that's the cool factor of these movies, is unmatched. Not cool in the sense of wow, but cool in the sense of like effortless.
No, it's ultimate vibes movie. Everything from the music, the visuals, and it's endlessly. I haven't rewatched it, but the first one was endlessly rewatchable, and I think this one is the same. You can just toss on Into the Spider-Verse whenever and just have a great time and watch it.
Yeah, even rewatching Into the Spider-Verse, that one, it takes a little bit to get its feet under it. This one, right from the beginning, is just, like I said, it's on go. Did you see that the Lego sequence was animated by a 14-year-old?
Yeah.
Imagine putting that on your resume.
That is pretty sweet.
Going to college and it's like, I worked on Across the Spider-Verse, the most critically acclaimed animated movie of all time.
No, that was funny.
They make him the dean.
The Venom thing I didn't like.
Oh, come on. I that was one of the only few cameos I did like. I just like that lady.
Yeah, the Venom sucks.
Sure.
I want to be associated with Venom.
Jessica Drew, she was another good one. When she came out of that portal with the webs coming out of her fingers, that was fucking dope as shit.
Yeah, I want to rewatch that scene when he first gets there and they have the little comic boxes above them saying who they are, but you can't really see because it just moves by so fast.
Okay, yeah. And the Spider, I'm interested in the next one to see, some of these characters that we didn't get much of, how they further develop them, like the Spider-Man who was just the avatar of the girl who was at home.
Yeah,
she was there in the different holograms. It looks like she's going to be part of the gang, and it's going to be fun to see Spider-Man Noir and May. Even May was looking rough. Everyone was like, damn, what happened to her in her world? I guess she just experienced her Canada event.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any lines from Spider-Pig.
Spider-Pig's The Simpsons.
That motherfucker. When he gave him the mallet at the end of the first one, it could fit in your pocket. Still so funny.
I think it's the best voice casting of all time.
It's so funny, dude. And we talked about, the relationship that Peter B. Parker had with Miles in the first one, serving as the mentor. And I liked how they positioned Hoagie as not a 180, but a different take on what it means to be Spider-Man. This idea of not following any orders, being a vigilante, more like Batman than Spider-Man. But Miles needed that. So I like that he had a different taste of mentorship and leadership in the role of somebody who's totally independent. And he's on Miles' side from the very beginning. They could have done a really cringy love triangle of Miles being jealous.
And he's too cool to be involved in all that.
Too cool. Right away he's on Miles' side when Jessica Drew says, they want you back at headquarters. And Hoagie's like, we're not going. And Miles is like, I can't wait to go to headquarters. And Hoagie's all disappointed. And he's the one who gives him the tip right away. Use your palms instead of your fingertips. So I really enjoyed that brotherly dynamic that those two had. Well, we can take some fan questions because we asked for some Spider-Verse related fan questions. I don't know if there's any more points you want to make, Aaron.
No, I mean, we both really enjoyed it, and now we're looking at maybe potential top trilogy of all time if the third one hits.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. It's definitely going to be in the conversations if the third movie is up to this quality. And I'm just so interested to see what they do with it in this next one because there's so many layers to that ending. The emotional complexity there of seeing your uncle, and then your uncle fucking snuffs you out and ties you to a punching bag. It's like, damn, this it feels like it was just starting for Miles, where all that stuff was necessary to get him to this point, but now this is like game 7 of the finals, right? What are you going to bring to it?
And there's still a lot. You got to resolve that. You got to resolve the Spot issue, the Miguel O'Hara issue, the relationship with his parents. There's a lot there.
Yeah, and I think Spot, like I said, it was old school in the sense of he starts out as this goofy villain and then he powers up. And it's real simple. He wants to defeat Miles because Miles did this to him. There's no other motive for it. It's a throwback. I'm your nemesis. You're the hero. I'm the bad guy. So that's why I thought the movie did a good job balancing all the complex emotional stuff when it comes to Miles' journey, but then just going, like I said, old school of I need to stop this villain who's powered up and now he's really fucking scary. He's not this dorky Spot guy who doesn't understand his powers anymore. He's like a fucking god, like an interdimensional god. This is horrifying. You know, that one sequence when he shows him what's going to happen and Miles is like, what was that? And he's like, it's our future. It's like, God damn, this is scary. Go away. And then he did. Doesn't really come back to the end there. So it's got something for everybody. You know, what do you come to Spider-Man for? This movie's got that for you.
Well said.
All right, let's take before we get to any fan questions, we actually want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, and that'll be ExpressVPN. Due to current economic trends, saving money is more important than ever. I often have people come up to me and say, Bo, I love keeping up with all the new shows on all these different streaming services, but it's costing me way too much money. And I say, random person who comes up to me, why aren't you saving money by using ExpressVPN? Let me explain further. Most streaming services like Netflix have thousands of more shows than you think. You just can't access them because they give you different shows depending on your country. But with ExpressVPN, you can change your location with a simple click of the button. So if there is something you want to watch, say in South Korea, for example, all you have to do is change your online location. Additionally, you can use ExpressVPN to get discounts by signing up for Netflix in different countries that are discounted. For example, it costs less to sign up for Netflix in Argentina than it does in the States. And at less than $7 a month, ExpressVPN essentially pays for itself when you factor in the ability to stream content overseas and also all the additional protection you will receive from using their private servers. So if you want to watch way more shows and save money while you're doing it, go to expressvpn.com/nerdsoup. Don't forget to use our link so you can get an extra 3 months free. That's expressvpn.com/nerdsoup. Visit expressvpn.com/nerdsoup to learn more.
All right, everybody. So I think at this point we're going to do fan questions.
No news? No news?
Other than the air quality. I mean, everyone's just crying about that. I mean,
I do want to make a statement, though. I am completely fucked on our
Can you ask me? I'm actually the CEO of this podcast.
Well, does that bet still count since Bo stepped down? We made a bet before.
What's that?
About the Oppenheimer and Barbie box offices, which would make more money.
Well, refresh my mind. What is the bet?
I have Oppenheimer, he has Barbie, and if Oppenheimer outgrosses Barbie, he has to get a tattoo, and if Barbie outgrosses Oppenheimer, I have to
dye your hair blonde,
bleach my hair like Ken. So it came out like this week, Oppenheimer, 3 hours, rated R, which not great for box office. Although IMAX theaters, can't forget about that. So it might be closer than I thought, but I think I might lose this one.
No, you're fucking screwed. If Bo comes back, you're screwed.
Now, I'll sign off on it, but I want in.
You want to take Mission Impossible?
No.
Which is actually more fucked than I am because that release date is absurd.
Well, that I can't imagine they're going to keep that release date. If they do, they're fucking stupid. They should move it, dude. It makes no sense.
Let's see what Teddy wants.
Teddy still has to pay off he still needs to wax his chest.
The kid's got 3 noodles.
Let's not say kid anymore. He's a 31-year-old father. He's a man.
Do you see the size of his brain?
Calling him a kid lets him off easy. Like, oh, he's just a kid. He forgets the bets. No, he's a grown man and should honor his word.
It acts like a kid. It smells like a kid. It's a kid, right?
No, he smells like a man. Disgusting. A gross.
No, and also a kid smells like shit. And it's, all right, let's do it. I'll tell you what. How about the loser does the reenactment of Silence of the Lambs?
We already made the bet. No, that's weird as shit.
What are you guys scared?
What scene? I'll get a tattoo and dye my hair before I do that.
I guess speaking for Bo, I don't think Bo would want to do that.
I actually had somebody do that in front of me before. I'm not going to say any names.
Hot.
I actually was going to, before we get the fan questions, I was going down the rabbit hole of the worst rated movies of all time. And I think that we should do,
That would be fun.
like get like drunk or,
Yeah. Yeah.
I obviously.
Maybe put it on Patreon.
Yes.
Could be a
And
fun little
I think
Patreon
the first
exclusive.
movie we should do is Trolls 2.
Do we have to see the first? I'm not going to know what's going on.
No, apparently you don't have to see the first one because this is how bad this movie is. You've definitely seen. So again, I go on YouTube and I watch the worst movie scenes of all time. And legitimately every video I watch, there's one scene in the movie when he's like, they're eating her. And now they're going to eat me. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about now. I thought like the animated trolls you were talking about.
No. Like that Trolls.
You know what I'm talking about? The little trolls with the crazy hair?
Yeah,
Pretty sure they
of
made
course. The
Trolls
things that
movies.
we grew up with as kids. Sure. If you didn't get pussy. All right, fan questions.
Yeah, I'll just do the fan questions in Bo's voice, make it easy for everybody.
That's for the fan to decide.
People you call up to the show, you better be ready. That's what you're supposed to do. Sitting there arguing and you're trying to spell your name and all of this other stuff. It's not your show, it's my show. I'm giving you the opportunity to speak your mind. Don't call up here unless you got something to say.
All right, this question here from Matt_Samson1. Top 3 HBO shows coming off of the finish of Succession.
That's tough. We talked about it off air and maybe a little bit on during the reviews, like where Succession ranks as a whole. And then when you really think about it, like the competition it has is not mostly, but a good percentage of them are HBO shows. You can debate if it's top 5 all time, but you can also have the debate if it's even top 5 HBO, which I think it is for both. But when you talk about Sopranos and The Wire, even comparing it to Game of Thrones, like even though Game of Thrones is my favorite series of all time, probably my favorite thing, you still have to acknowledge that like there were some bumps along the way. Whereas Succession, I don't think there weren't any. From like an objective output, I think I would have to put it like above it. And then it's so tough to dissect because I would say the heights of Game of Thrones are better, but you can't ignore the final season and even some aspects of season 5, season 6, season 7, where Succession really never had that.
This motherfucker's spitting.
So, or like, where's True Detective season 1? Like, is that on its own, or do you have to include
Or
season
Chernobyl.
2, season 3? Chernobyl
is fantastic too.
Sharp Objects, another one of my favorites. But I think you can really put it. I think
Well, we all know why you like that show.
Yeah, I mean, Amy Adams is, we have like a close friendship. But I think for everybody, really, like, I think Sopranos is in there for pretty, like, that might be a lock.
That's
6 Feet
gotta be
Under,
number
I haven't
one.
watched yet, but a lot of people rave about that show. Didn't you watch it, or you
No,
said
I
you were
haven't
going
seen 6
to?
Feet Under.
And then obviously The Wire. It's tough, man.
Number one's got to be, just from my perspective of watching shows and seeing people watch shows and talk about shows and everything, I got to say that Sopranos is number 1, and then Game of Thrones is number 2. I feel like The Wire is kind of like underground. I feel like the Wire is MF Doom. Everybody loves it.
That is a great comparison.
Like, everybody loves it, but have they watched it? Have they listened to it?
Well, the people who watch it will tell you it's the best show
Yeah.
ever.
Right.
So.
Right. That's exactly
And it is.
what
I
it
mean,
is.
it's up to that same quality.
But then if you're putting Succession in that, Succession has to be creeping, definitely top 10, creeping top 5.
I think it's
no
an
matter-
honor to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
The fact that people are having conversations
The
about best show
writing-
ever.
And it's still like so fresh, like it's hard to really gauge where it's ultimately going to end up. But I mean, like I said with Game of Thrones, like my favorite show of all time, and I think the peaks are like probably like the best peaks in television history. How would you weigh that against the disappointing season finale? And at times wasn't always at that same standard, especially in the later seasons. Yeah, it is tough. Want to add in Chernobyl, if you want to add in True Detective season 1, definitely like a HBO, man.
HBO bangs bangers.
Well, the ones that get remembered, because they do produce a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But they do, right. They have a lot of
Especially
duds,
like a lot of their miniseries, they seem to be just really running together with the way that they're shot, the way that they're presented, where it's like, like you could literally piece together Sharp Objects, The Outsider, Mayor of Easttown into one show and make it make all sense. Like visually, there's no like difference between the way those 3 shows are shot.
I mean, if you look at
and Chernobyl.
Then you got to look at the other, like, I mean, Barry just ended. I didn't see the final season, but a little divisive, I would say, from the reaction I got. But, you know, shows like Veep, some of the comedies they produced, Curb Your Enthusiasm. There's like a whole nother sector if you want to talk about shows as a whole versus drama, comedy.
Dramas just hit different, man.
Yeah.
Well, the best dramas are also hilarious. I mean, The Sopranos is the funniest show maybe ever.
All right, give me the next question. That was a great question, by the way. That might have been one of the best questions I've heard on the show, by the way. Who was that?
That was Matt Sampson.
All right,
he always hits us with good questions.
Good
It's
job, Matt.
tough,
Good
man.
listener.
Good job. Because I hate the fucking questions that these people ask, so.
But, like, really, like
What's your favorite dragon in Game of Thrones?
Oh, you're going to hate this next question because it's going to be, there's a lot of Spider-Verse questions.
What,
I'll sit out. I don't
Because
care.
you framed it as Spider-Verse questions.
I'm a great bench
Right.
player. I'll take a breather if you need.
Spider-Verse
Hello.
question. Who is your favorite Spider-Man variant from this sequel? I mean,
I'm
a
going
lot
to
of
take a
people,
union break on this one.
I mean, a lot of people are, of course, loving Spider-Punk, Hoagie. Mm-hmm. Is it Hoagie or Hobie?
I think it's Hobie.
Hobie. Yeah, I think he was the biggest standout without a doubt. So I'll be a normie here and just say, yeah, he was my favorite, even though you couldn't really understand anything he was saying. But for the most part, I was able to piece it together.
Yeah, that is a normie answer, but he is a good character. I liked Spider-Man. What's his name? India Spider-Man. Got his name, but he was fun when he came on the screen. He brought like some energy.
Yeah.
They all were like very fun and like interesting in different ways. Like it never got stale because I think each character really brought new personality and characteristics that kind of kept it fresh. I mean, Miguel O'Hara, even though he's the bad guy, but like still like his presence was definitely felt and definitely added to the movie a lot. If we're going back like all Spider people, I mean, Spider-Ham is my favorite. It's just the pig, Spider-Man. What's not to like?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that he wasn't as involved in this movie. Felt like there was a pig-sized hole that wasn't really filled.
I get that.
Are you taking a shot at Teddy?
No.
Oh my god.
You're taking a shot by Teddy, but I'm thinking I was taking a shot at Teddy.
Fuck, man, he's so crazy. We're all supposed to be boys here. We're supposed to be fucking friends. Jessica Drew was awesome too. I think that opening action sequence when she was shooting the webs from the fingertips, I was like, that's cool. Oh, I can't stand this phenomenon though of having pregnant women fighting. It's not an empowerment thing. You're just endangering the baby. It truly is. It's like
The
you're
baby's
not-
the only worry.
No, but like I know it's supposed to be like, oh, women can fight when they're pregnant. Every doctor would scold you for doing that.
Well, Peter B had the baby.
Yeah, also really irresponsible.
Who else? I mean, I want to. We talked about it in the review, but it's a movie that like I want to rewatch like so many times. There's probably so many things we missed.
Yeah, even I thought Spot. He wasn't a Spider-Man variant, but for new characters, I enjoyed him. Okay, let's take just a normal old regular question. This one here from Alex. Greatest fictional character ever put on film, live action only. That's a tough question. It just comes down to personal preference, you know? Who's your favorite
Yeah.
fictional character?
It's hard to like pit like it's like how do you compare Aragorn to like Michael Corleone?
Could be done.
Yeah, I mean I'm not even a big like that's just I think a lot of people would like pick that as a great fictional character, but like Aragorn's a fucking the king.
What are you cooking up over there?
I have an
Fights
answer.
orcs.
Aragorn is very just a great mascot for positive masculinity.
Yeah, and
Looks
like obviously
cool, fights cool.
I like Frodo and Sam like
Hot
probably,
girlfriend.
probably better, but just like
We have to do
cool
little
coolest
monsters
fictional
or
character.
people? Can we do
No, just anybody.
Well,
yeah, live
the person,
action though.
The person that had the most effect on me was in Squid Game with Ali.
You love yourself some Ali.
Dude, that was the saddest scene I've ever seen in my life.
But the coolest fictional was it coolest or greatest?
Greatest, the goat. You're calling.
Calling
I mean,
it the goat.
Ali's a good character.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No, I guess I'm just being
have,
selfish
like,
here and
Walter
thinking
White.
about the significant impact of what it had to me. Dude, I cried.
But that's the thing
I
with
never
you.
cried.
This carries over. This mentality carries over to every debate. Because if we were to do greatest basketball player, you're going to be like, listen, I know it's not popular, but prime Joe Johnson. When he
my
got low
God.
to the ground, there was no stopping
Oh
him.
my God, Boris Diaw was great, man. No,
I guess when you look at it, it's like who's like the best written, like most impactful, like complex character. It doesn't even have to be that.
I
'cause
think you
could-
hit the nail on the head, Michael Corleone.
Yeah, but you could just say Aragorn, and it's like, well, he's just cooler. Like,
Right,
look
but
at 'em.
by your criteria, most complex,
Like when it
best
comes
written,
to like fiction,
most...
though, like Batman.
Well, I think Spider-Man's up there in terms of just impact, how influential he's become.
Big Omni-Man, too.
It's not live
not,
action.
not live action.
Fuck.
It's got to be real. I do love me some
but it's not
Omni-Man, though.
real. That's the thing. No.
That is that is a good point because everything on the camera is fake. It's not real.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's all an illusion.
Like porn is fake too. Oh, what's my favorite fiction? All right, Rachel Starr.
No,
then.
I think that counts. That's
Yeah.
live action.
All right. I'll take Chrissy Lynn.
Or Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Darth Vader in every iteration, he's been awesome. Every
or
time he's on
Romy Rain.
screen.
Romy Rain is good.
No,
Like,
she
when
had
I
an
think-
incredible peak. She's like the Tim Lincecum, when
Oh,
she was
okay.
throwing fastballs.
Or she's
that
an
leg
Alec
kick.
Manoa.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Pitcher for the Blue Jays.
You know that, Aaron?
Alec Manoa. Yeah, he sucks now.
This question here from West Coast Derek. If it sticks the landing, could Spider-Verse be the greatest trilogy of all time?
Call me after.
Yeah, of course. Once again, it's all subjective, but the first two movies you put them up against any 1 and 2 for any trilogy out there.
No, it is a conversation because I think the first one is almost a masterpiece, and I think the second one, I don't think it's as good, but it could be. And I think a lot of people think it is. I really want to see this again because I think I might like it better the second time, and I really liked it the first time. It's tough because I feel like with trilogies, we already have it kind of like cemented. It's kind of like what you were saying with The Sopranos and The Wire. Like, it's hard for a new show to come and be like, hey, I'm right with you guys, or even better. With trilogies, obviously you have the first Star Wars trilogy, and then you have Lord of the Rings trilogies, and it's tough because, like, that's just always what it has been when you think about trilogies. But if the third one's as good as the second, maybe even a little better, it's hard not to put it up there with those.
Yeah, so a lot of people were frustrated about the cliffhanger. That's why I think it could be. Listen, you want to get the best movie, so whatever time they need. But I think they're shooting themselves in the foot by putting that release date out there and also not marketing it as a part 1. Listen, people are going to watch it when it does come out, but you're just setting yourself up for people to be pissed off. But when you hear all the stories about how long it took them
40 years to do that one sequence.
Yeah. So there's no fucking way they're going to make that release date. And especially with the writer strike. Like, if that script's... If Haley Steinfeld is saying that she hasn't recorded a line of dialogue, that could mean the script's not finished.
And she's just joking. She's doing a little
Just
gag.
a goof.
Yeah, she's just goofing around.
She is a goofball. She's a goofy kid. But it's got a great... I mean, where it leaves off, it is kind of abrupt and jarring. And I've seen people defend it. I don't necessarily agree with some of the arguments. Yeah, if it comes out and it's a fucking banger. The first one, to me, is still a flawless masterpiece.
Yeah.
And,
But I think in some ways, 2 is even better, man. We talked about this already.
Wow. You guys agreed on something.
favorite trilogy, Nash?
Favorite trilogy? I don't know. I don't have one.
Nah, you gotta have a favorite trilogy.
Austin Powers?
Sure.
I love those movies.
The opening, I forget what...
I guess
what
Mini-Me
Austin
doesn't
Powers-
want any chocolate!
I forget what one it is, but the opening scene when Tom Cruise is Austin Powers and Danny DeVito is
3,
Mini-Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm
Look at
Mini-Me.
me, I'm Mini-Me.
It's so great, man.
Some incredible cameos. This question here from Cody_Stereo. What
What's
do you
up,
think
Cody?
is the best season 1 in television? My personal picks are True Detective and Game of Thrones.
I hate to revert back to it, but Dexter.
It really was a good first season.
Dexter was one that was I watched the full season in one day.
No, I remember like when I first started watching Dexter, that binge was fucking incredible. It is a great first
I
season.
had 8 cups of coffee that day.
Damn.
I remember it. I sat in my kitchen with my laptop and I had 8 cups of coffee and watched. Sat there, made food, sat there, had coffee, made food, sat there.
I can
Those
never
are the
remember
best
the
days.
actor's name who plays Dexter.
Michael C. Hall.
I think it's Michael C. Hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just me thinking out loud.
Were you doing my voice or was I doing your voice?
Yeah.
I'm lost at this point.
Can you count True Detective as a season 1? Because it's very much a limited series.
You know what season 1 I did
in its
too?
story. I mean, it's more of an anthology with season 2s and season 3s, but like it's a complete story.
Second season would be considered season 2, right?
Yeah, but season 1 is a complete story that doesn't continue. I feel like when you're looking at a season 1,
I get what he's saying.
No, yeah, I get it. I'm just being a dick. I mean, you can't you could refer to it as the second season.
And I'm just being an idiot because I forgot that True Detective does their own stories in season 1, season 2, season 3. And then they're doing a season 4, right?
Yeah.
They are, yeah. Jodie Foster.
And Game of Thrones season 1
Paddington.
was another one where when I first started watching it, that binge was just like 4 a.m.
I don't know what this made me...
up.
Not to cut you off, I don't know what this made me think of, but are we going to see the A24 movie with Robert Pattinson, Mickey?
Oh, yeah.
That comes out next year.
Mickey.
Are we going to see
Mickey
it?
7?
Sure.
Yeah.
Put it in the calendar.
That was the guy that made Parasite, right?
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho.
Supposed to come
is
out the
gonna
same day as
slap.
Spider-Verse.
That's going to slap. That movie is going to...
For some reason, I thought Oppenheimer was coming out June 21st instead of July 21st.
Boy!
Which movie? Oh, Oppenheimer.
I was getting excited.
Yeah, that's a great duo.
Can we do a double feature?
Well, we already gone.
That's what we're
Oppenheimer.
planning to do.
Yeah.
Barbie tickets are... You want to come?
Oh!
You may not... We don't know your schedule. You may not have off
We're
that
going.
day.
We're going to Manhattan.
Hey, if you... Yeah, no, those tickets are going to be...
Gone.
What? I can't afford
You
it?
could come for Barbie, maybe.
Oh.
No, it's not that. Well, why are you tweeting like you're Will Smith from Pursuit of Happiness?
Dude, I am.
Ice cubes are a
You wanna see
poor
my-
man's snack.
You want to see my bank account right now?
Okay.
I'll show you my bank account right now.
You know what? I have a feeling that you're going to be just fine. I think you're just going to be just...
Not now.
You know,
I want it now.
You're like-
I want it now.
Cold cuts is the luxury man's snack.
Dude.
I mean, cold cuts are
but
expensive.
You know what it is? It makes you fucking humble to think that way, you know? Because it's like, I can't afford a turkey sandwich right now. All right. I mean, I'm eating
You're gonna become
ice
that
cubes on the mic. I mean, you know
can't
what I'm
afford
doing
goldfish?
I think you're doing that like for effect.
all right, I'm a little over
Yeah,
dramatic.
you're
but at
fucking
the
with
same
people in the
time,
chat.
I can't afford anything at this point. I mean, you know what I'm doing for a snack? I can't afford a snack. I'm telling you at this point, like I'm trying to budget.
Where is your money going? This one here from Ghost Napa. Where does Across the Spider-Verse rank for Marvel movies all time? The first one for me is number 1. This one, I think it's sort of in that second tier. With the first one being in a tier all on its own. Maybe, Logan, Infinity War.
Yeah.
But I don't think this one's up to... I don't think it's better than Infinity War or Logan. I think it's sort of in that Spider-Man 2 class of movies.
I haven't really laid it out yet, but off the top, I definitely have Dark Knight, the Logans, the first Spider-Verse.
Well, Marvel movies.
Oh, Marvel. Okay. MC. Well, I guess Logan's Marvel. Yeah. Infinity War, Logan, the first Guardians, Captain America, Winter Soldier,
Well, for a lot of people, this is sitting at the top.
Yeah, it's hard to really compare it to some of those, even Endgame, which I do have my problems with, but just how impactful it was at the time it came out and just that experience and everything that was happening was just insanity. I still think comparatively Infinity War is a better movie, and I think this would be a better movie than Endgame. I definitely have a top 10, maybe outskirts of top 5.
Yeah, for me, it didn't do as much to separate itself from the pack like the first one did. But for a lot of people, man, they think it is the Marvel movie. All right, 2 more questions here. This one from Ben Cozy. Favorite movie to watch high? When was the last time either of you have been high?
Remember when I brought my friend from
Disclaimer,
college?
I have never smoked weed in my life. I don't even know how to do that. But if I were high, my favorite movie to watch high would probably be Spring Breakers.
Oh, that's a good one to get high to. I could do that tonight.
That one was great.
That's a great
That
movie.
was a trip.
That director's super divisive, but I think that's one of his easier movies to digest, which
Yeah.
is saying something.
It's a fun watch.
You may like his other movies, or you'd be interested in them because you like freaky shit, trash humpers.
Well, remember when I brought my friend from college over and we watched,
Not that.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
we smoked and watched
Let me put it back in my pants.
Clockwork Orange.
Dude, I
That
want
was
to watch
a
that
wild
movie.
fucking movie to watch.
I want to watch that movie. How was it?
Clockwork Orange?
Yeah. I hear
It's
it's
good.
it's fucked up.
Classic.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I hear it's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
No, yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
But I think
Would it be over the fucked up line of Titan?
it's not as I think there's definitely some differences.
Titane's way more gory, bloody.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of how it
Subject
makes
matter.
you feel,
Eraserhead was another one for me. Eraserhead was.
See, I wouldn't want to watch like what I was referring to, A Clockwork Orange. Like, I feel like that's just not a good movie to watch high because I don't want to be like creepy. I don't want to feel like weird. I'd rather just like something like fun and vibey.
Well, you got a lot
like Spider-Man. Fucking, I need a Spider-Verse movies. I think those are just perfect movies to watch.
Yeah,
It's
Clockwork
fun,
Orange.
exciting. There's a lot of colors. It's cool. Like, you're vibing with it. That one just can kill the vibe real fast because it's fucking disturbing.
Yeah, watching that movie is the sensation of being stalked in a dark alley.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're watching Titan, it's like you're watching a bullfight or something like that, where it's scary. You're scared for what may be happening, but you can almost enjoy it. A Clockwork Orange is I don't want to watch that movie sober.
Yeah.
I just don't like watching that movie, even though it's a great movie.
I mean, one movie I feel like maybe 66% of the podcasts I've ever been on, I've mentioned this movie. Kid you not, I cry laughing every time I watch that movie. Is Pootie Tang.
I've never seen it.
Pootie Tang.
Get absolutely blitted tonight and watch Pootie Tang.
I never got that. Like, people see like horror movie trailers, like, oh yeah, we should get really high before we go see this movie. It's like, no, don't do that. Fucking weirdos, man.
What about the Bazonkas?
What?
All right, this last question here from Foodie Feet NYC.
Yeah, your face.
He's like, what?
I've never seen Aaron so disgusted in me before.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
You gross me out.
Are you guys going to watch The Idol on Max?
No. I don't know.
We should watch it at this point.
Well, I don't want to be like,
I don't want to hate watch it and then it gets another season.
Well, I did that with Euphoria.
Yeah,
At
I
least
know. I
Euphoria-
blame you.
like people, like there's a fan base around it and people are like,
That's a cult.
You know it
That's a
takes
cult.
place in the same universe?
Huh?
Yeah. There's a character from Euphoria that makes a cameo in The Idol.
Who?
The girl who says, bitch, you gotta be joking.
Oh.
Yeah.
but like with
I like her attitude.
Yeah.
She's sassy.
She reminds me of like the six girls.
So much, dude. Yeah. They all do capture those high school girl vibes, but
Yes.
her the most. Like the way
Yes.
she dresses, the way she talks.
Yes.
She's
With
such a
the little
mean girl.
curls.
Yeah.
Bitch, you gotta be joking.
That became such a big meme.
Yeah, it's hilarious. That whole like scene is hilarious though.
It is hilarious, yeah.
But that's such a cult watch. Like that show fucking sucks, and everyone overrates it.
well, I mean,
Cause Zendaya.
look, it's one episode out. I don't know how many episodes like the critics have seen because
I'm sure it's gonna
I'm a
suck.
component of like, it's hard to, I hate that they do Rotten Tomato scores and critic scores for shows that people have only seen one episode or 3 episodes on early access because it's impossible. It's like rating a movie after the first act, what you think it's going to be. So I think that's just it's not a great system for it. But like everything I hear about the show and like what it's about, I just don't really have an interest in it. And if it turns out maybe like the second half of the season or past what people have seen already ends up being good, maybe, but I don't know, just not my kind of show.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening. What a show, huh? Mm-hmm. What a show. Everybody, thank you for listening. For me, am I saying me? Like Anthony J.Q. Nash alongside with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey and me doing the voice of Bo.
Very good impression.
Not too bad, right?
Pat myself on the back.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Any last comments, as I would say if I were Bo?
No?
All right, everyone, just go fuck yourself. I'm done.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcasts, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Bo spelt your name wrong in the credits.